back with some more Lush perfumes. So I figured, as I recently got the Barbie perfume from Lush, which is a limited edition, I might as well talk about all the limited edition and discontinued and just generally the perfumes I have from Lush that aren't always available actually in store. But I figured it might be worth talking about these purely because you can get a lot of these quite easily often on eBay. And some of them are okay. Some of them I think are really worth trying to get hold of, and others I'm like, they're kind of famous, but I'm not entirely sure from my personal taste whether they're really worth paying, lots of money for. So I'm going to go through what I've got. I've got a proper review of this one already, so I'm not going to talk about it for long because I am not keen on this perfume, this Barbie perfume from Lush. And I've tried to wear it a couple of times now, and I know it's not one that is going to stay with me. I'll give you the notes. So the notes listed are coumarin, almond, coumarin, I should say. So it's kind of like, that's like a sort of tonkery kind of smell. Almond, magnolia, sweet orange, and olibanum. This one smells like a Lush shop to me. It smells more like a Lush shop than any of the other perfumes, even the ones that are supposed to smell like Lush shops. It smells like, when you first spray it, you get this beautiful almond oil smell mixed in with a bit of cherry. It kind of smells like Snow Fairy. Snow Fairy is also limited edition, but it comes out every single Christmas. So I'll chuck it in here, but obviously I've already talked about Snow Fairy because it is quite a regular and they're really easy to get on eBay as well. But so Snow Fairy is kind of a cotton candy and cherry, and it's like sugary and sweet. It's super pretty, really girly, not particularly grown up, but in a really fun way. Barbie has elements of that, but in the deep dry down it starts to smell like a literal bath bomb to me. So it smells a little bit kind of fizzy, a bit salty. It's got like a detergent smell to it, like a kind of flowery detergent smell that I really, really do not enjoy. And so, as I said in that, I went into more detail in the actual singular review of this one, but it's not for me. Some people will really enjoy it. It's not for me personally. I won't keep it. And it's definitely not worth paying more than what you can get this from Lush for. So if you're kind of searching for it because for some reason you can't get it from Lush, this was, I think, 35, and I really would not pay more than that for it myself, unless for some reason you're just absolutely in love with anything Barbie. But I would say if you're interested in this particular scent or the way it's been advertised, I would get Snow Fairy, absolutely. So if we're looking at what else I've got here, let's start with the big bottle. Okay, just going to find the notes for this. Okay, so this is a perfume that I think used to be part of the regular collection. This is called What Would Love Do? I think this only actually came off the website quite recently. It was on there for ages, but it didn't have you couldn't actually buy them. It was just sort of there, This is quite an unusual scent, but it's kind of slightly magical. I mean, it has to be said, I do not need a bottle this size. This is a huge bottle. As you can see, my lid's a bit battered because this is all of these. In fact, I think all of them, I think, except for one, came from eBay. I very rarely actually buy them directly from Lush because they tend to be much more expensive. Those two were from Lush, but a lot of these older ones or the limited edition ones or the big bottles, I will buy them on eBay because you can get them a bit cheaper, and I do love a bargain. They're quite easy to find. So What Would Love Do? This is a Simon Constantine classic. So the notes in this that are on for Grantica and what they generally describe it as is tangerine, lavender and benzoin. If we look at the back, let's have a look. Benzoin's up the top, tangerine oil, lavender oil, cinnamol, so you've got that kind of slightly cinnamony smell. Coumarin again, so you've got a bit of tonka. Geraniol, which is a classic Lush one, that's kind of a rosy geranium floral scent. Lino. Yeah, okay, so slightly lemony, but it's mainly, I think, this benzoin. When you first spray it, you definitely get some of that tangerine smell, and you get like the tangerine peel as well, and you do get a little bit of lavender, but this is a benzoin bomb. Very, very strong, quite resinous, and sweetens up as it dries down. And what it ends up smelling like is kind of like a really not too sweet gingerbread. It doesn't have like that insane kind of gourmand element to it where it actually literally smells like a food, but it smells like a perfume interpretation of like a gingerbread or a ginger cake, if you see what I mean. It somehow becomes so spicy because of that benzoin mixed, and then you've got that slight citrus and some, I don't know why, but something about that sort of herbally vibe from the lavender, and probably a little bit of what smells slightly cinnamony, slightly anacey as well, you know. It just, to me, smells a little bit like a really intense kind of gingerbread. So I do like this one. I haven't decided yet whether it's sensible for me, because I mean, I couldn't possibly use it. It's also quite strong. This is definitely an autumn winter perfume, quite Christmassy to me. So I don't know. I might have to take a decant and then pass this on, just because, I mean, it's such a big bottle for me. I like, what I really love with these kind of things, I wish I could get more of my little kind of 15 mils. Or pen sprays. I love the LUSH pen sprays. But yeah, this one, if you love benzoin, if you love that kind of, the idea of like a really deeply spiced, and it's more like, if you think of like the golden syrupy kind of perfumes you get nowadays, if I said like a gingerbread, it would be like exceptionally sweet. It would be like really, really crazy, totally gourmand. You'd be able to smell the bread, or, you know, or the biscuit. In this one, I would say it's much more like, if you can imagine like treacle, you know, so that blackened, more burnt kind of sweet smell, very, very deep, you know, like if you made a gingerbread with treacle and it came out almost black, you know, that's the kind of smell I get from this. And so if you like the idea of that, this one's definitely worth finding. I think this is a beautiful perfume. I hope that they bring it back at some point, and like hopefully in smaller bottles, but I will be wearing this one at Christmas. From the bottle, you get much more of that lavender, you get much more of the tangerine, but essentially as soon as it dries down, it's a sweet benzoin with just a little hint of other things. But it's definitely sweet and spicy. It's really pretty. So that's a nice one. I do think that one's worth tracking down. So what else have we got in the form of bottles? So this is I'm Home. This is, I mean, you can see how kind of strong this one is. You can see the color of that liquid, how deep it's got. I mean, this one was, I'm pretty sure, quite deep when it was first out because of the ingredients. But it's like, it's properly stained the sprayer, you know. I'm Home. This one's interesting, and I'm still not entirely sure that I love this one, and I think that's because in a way it kind of reminds me of something else that I'll talk about later. A couple of things actually, but in a way that I don't enjoy quite as much. This is another benzoin bomb. So I'm Home. It lists cacao pod, vanilla, and benzoin, and that's the Fragrantica notes. So on here, let's have a little look. Cocoa Absolute, Vanilla Absolute, benzoin, anise, cinnamate again, they love that one. Coumarin, they love that. Farsenal, I can't remember what that one smells like. But yeah, I mean, this one's pretty much, I mean, I think this one smells like it's got coffee in it. There's something about this that gives me a bit of a coffee vibe. And I have a feeling that when this used to be on the site, it did actually say something about coffee. It definitely gives me a slight coffee vibe. But the issue I have with this one, firstly, there's definitely There's something slightly fruity in this. It's not a million miles away from this, except it's got a kind of coffee cocoa spiciness to it, whereas this one has that kind of gingerbread spice to it. This one is slightly more kind of tangy and maybe less smooth, but I think that's because it has. And the thing is with Lush, because they actually use cocoa, it smells quite pure, like actual cocoa, unsweetened. Like, it doesn't smell like chocolate, if you see what I mean. It smells like actual cocoa or cacao. Very dark, slightly bitter. But then this has a very, very sweet vanilla in it. So this one for me, I don't like as much as some of the other things that have this same vibe, just because I don't really like too much vanilla. So while I'm talking about this one, I might as well also mention Tumeric Latte, which is one that you could definitely get that last Christmas, possibly the one before. So it might be one that comes out every Christmas now. And that's pretty good because you can normally get quite small bottles. It's normally not very expensive. I think they're about 30 quid, 35 quid, the same that the Barbie one was. And I mean, if you can ever get that in a 15ml, that would be amazing, unless you obviously love it. The notes for that one are listed as tonka bean, vanilla, benzoin and turmeric. You do get a little bit of that kind of spiciness. Again, it's got a lot of benzoin in it, so it has that slightly Christmassy, slightly kind of spicy, pretty, rich, resinous scent that you get with a lot of benzoin. It's very sweet. But for me, what happened with the Turmeric Latte when I tested that, and I did test it on my skin as well as just smelling it in store, the vanilla in that one is like really, really strong. And it's not a million miles away from this. If you can imagine, even though it's called Turmeric Latte, it doesn't really smell particularly like coffee. So if you can imagine kind of I'm Home, but without the coffee and the more cacao kind of smell, that kind of bitterness that runs through it. If you take away that bitterness, then Turmeric Latte is kind of what you get. And it's just got too much vanilla for me. And I have a feeling that I'm Home also has too much vanilla for me, because whenever I've tried to wear it, I'm like, no, not quite sure. So this is probably one that I'll pass on, but this is one that I actually got really recently. So I thought I would mention that one. What else do I have? Oh yes. Oh, this one, this poor thing. You're going to see how battered this is. So this is Amelie May. Now, this has been through the wars, because this is one that I ordered from eBay, and the person I bought it from very generously chucked in a couple of like nail varnishes with it. But unfortunately, one of the nail varnishes obviously crashed against this. And smashed everywhere, so it kind of knackered the bottle. Didn't knacker the actual glass bottle. It had like a tiny chip in it, so I put some stuff around it just in case. But this is really thick glass, so it's absolutely fine. But yeah, as you can see, the the actual Amelie May bit didn't go down too well, but you can see the colour here. So I really wanted to try Amelie May for ages, because I think that it's a bit of a kind of long lost love for a lot of people from Lush. I think it's one that used to be part of their regular collection, and people used to prefer it. Some people preferred it to Rose Jam, because it's a very raspberry forward perfume though, but the notes in it are listed as raspberry, lavender, rose and ylang ylang. Can I actually see what's on the back of it? Oh yes, the back is all in one piece. So let's see if I can read it through this. So ylang ylang, lavender, yeah, rose absolute, coumarin, farsenol, geraniol, all those classics. So the whole, like, they've got benzenate as well. Like, let's see, yeah, and then I think the perfume it's got very perfumey, juicy, strong raspberry in it. And I would say from the bottle, I really like this one, because from the bottle I can smell the rose and the ylang ylang. So I think it's magical when I sniff it from the bottle. But when it dries down, I think this one, it gets much more of that raspberry, and it's very, very syrupy and not massively natural smelling. So I'm not sure about this. I actually have a different bottle with just a little bit left in it, so I might just keep that one. And this big bottle, I might pass on to someone who really wants it. This is because it's almost full, and I'm never going to get through it. You know what I mean? If any of you are watching and you want this one, and you live in the UK, then let me know, because I'll let you know when it's going up before I put it on eBay. Yeah, yeah, I'm probably going to keep the one just a little bit in, because it's one that I need to experiment more with, and I think definitely this is way too thick and syrupy for me to wear in warm weather, and I really want to try it in cold weather and see if the florals come out a bit more, because at first I really love that combination of rose and raspberry. I always love that combination, and if you throw in the slightly banana-y ylang ylang that you get in Lush perfumes, and just a hint of lavender, it's beautiful. But as I say, the more it dries down, the more it turns into a very, 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 very strong, syrupy, thick, almost like rose jam, but kind of raspberryish, and without so much geranium, because for rose jam starts to smell a bit pissy to me because it's got so much geranium in it, and I can't wear that one. This is kind of a more fruity version of rose jam. So there's things I really like about this, but it's kind of the wrong time of year for me to get too involved with it. So this is another one, because it's relatively new, that I need to play with, but I'm probably going to play with the small bottle and pass on this big one, because I know there's people who love it, even though it does look like it's been through a war. Oh, and then we've got a little teeny tiny lovely little 15 ml, and I love the 15 mls from Lush. I'm always sad that they don't just do these as standard for some of their perfumes. So this is a little cutie called a Butterball. This is quite an old one. Let's see, used by 2022. I mean, I take no notice. You can tell normally when a perfume's gone off, and the Lush ones, you know. This is a very light and pretty perfume that has a kind of sweet, slightly powdery, slightly lotiony skin scent about it, you know. It's really simple smelling, but it's very pretty, quite comfy. So the notes on Fragrantica for this are chocolate, powdery notes, sugar, musk, and ylang ylang. Now I think Butterball is the same scent that you get in the Butter Bear Christmas soaps, and that's one that my husband and I really like, and it is like a really comforting smell, because it does just smell like a really, really nice, sweetened, comfy, like bar soap smell, and this is what this perfume smells like. So it doesn't give, let's see, it's got a synthetic musk, ylang ylang oil, benzyl benzoate, it's all the classics, geraniol, farsenol, and then I think the rest of the scents in here are all just synthetic. But it kind of reminds me of some of my old Jill Sander perfumes that I've had to pass on, because those smell like body lotions, but they smell like body lotions in a way that I find quite uncomfortable to wear. So I've passed on, or am passing on at some point when I get them listed, I'm passing those on eBay, because I just can't really wear them. Whereas Butterball, I think if you can get it for a good price and you like a really simple skin scent, I think Butterball's super pretty. It's not very strong at all. It doesn't have massive sillage. It's very much a kind of cozy at home smell for me. It's super pretty, really approachable. It is slightly powdery, but not massively so. I mean, I think it smells... I mean, you definitely get that sugary vibe, like almost like... It's almost like a powdered sugar with just a tiny sprinkling. Yeah, because what it was reminding me of is a much nicer version of... Jill Sander Poudre Intense, and that's the one that smells like baby powder with loads of cocoa powder on top of it. But that one, again, it has that Jill Sanders DNA that I kind of struggle with, whereas this has a Lush DNA, and I tend not to struggle with the Lush DNA. I quite like it. So yeah, that's Butterball, and that one I think is probably worth it, but only if you can get it for a bargain. Like, it's not a very strong perfume, and it's really like skin-like and light and pretty, so it's not worth spending loads of money on that, because you can probably get that with other things. All right, now we're moving on to my pen sprays. So let's start with, okay, so let's start with this one because this is an interesting one. There is a magic to this, but also it's probably not one that I need to keep because I've really struggled to wear it. Tropical Fruit. This is one that I got in a bundle from eBay. It's one of the ones that you get in like the LUSH sets. You can get like a kitchen set of pen sprays. Now it's really difficult to get any notes for this because it's not on Fragrantica, but let's see. On here it says cypress oil, cedarwood oil, ylang ylang oil, vetiver, anise, what else? Geraniol classic, cinnamol classic, limonite. Okay, yeah, there's also like there's definitely a citrus in this, but it is mainly cypress oil, ylang ylang, and a lot of vetiver. And it's got, I'm pretty sure this used to be called Jungle. So Jungle you could get in like a solid conditioner and a few other forms. And it's like Jungle from Lush was quite popular, I think. I'm not really sure why they've changed it to Tropical Fruit. It also doesn't really smell like tropical fruit. There's definitely something fruity in here, but I'd say that's just that general kind of citrusy smell you sometimes get, especially in Lush perfumes. But ultimately, there's a lot of vetiver. There is ylang ylang, but someone described Jungle on Fragrantica as smelling like you're literally in like a humid jungle. And so that was a much better name for it. Like Tropical Fruit doesn't make sense, and I totally get that. Now this one is, its top comparison is Eden by Cacharel, and I can totally see it, except this one is so much nicer. Eden by Cacharel also smells like you're in a humid jungle, but it's more vanilla-y. It's much sweeter. It's more synthetic. There is a plastic smell to that in that classic way. But I have to say, like, there's something I find quite magical about Eden by Cacharel. It's just something I could never wear. It's an absolute beast. It's mad. But it's also kind of beautiful in its madness. And it does smell humid. It smells like overripe fruits and dying flowers in a really humid environment, which sounds gross but is kind of magic. And I think this has that same kind of vibe. So although there definitely is a fruitiness to it, I think Tropical Fruit sells this in the wrong way. This is a much more complex scent than you might think it would be. I kind of love sniffing it from the bottle, and there are I've tried it on my skin, and I think, I don't know, the more I sniff it from the bottle, the more I think I can't bear to part with it. But it might be another one that I've just got to try in different seasons, or maybe in different moods, because it's quite strong. It's but like not crazy strong. I'd say What Would Love Do is probably stronger than Tropical Fruit, but it might just be because it's quite a lot sweeter. But there is a sweetness in Tropical Fruit. And it's an interesting smell. But like, if you like Eden, but maybe people around you struggle with it, then Tropical Fruit might be a really good thing to try and get hold of. Particularly, like I said, because you can get hold of it from eBay really easily. Sorry, I just needed to lighten my thing up again. It does love to get super, super dark for some reason while I'm doing this. So let's go to the next one. Let's have a look. What have I got here? I've spoken about this one before because I used to have a bottle, but I had a 30ml bottle. This is Yog Nog. And I discussed this once, but only once in my Christmas perfumes. So Yog Nog I had a 30ml bottle of, which is this size, and I just was never going to get through it because the original version of Yog Nog perfume was so strong. It was absolute beast mode. It's lasted forever. It was incredibly deep and spicy. And so in that video, when I talked about it in the Christmas video, I did say I'm going to take a decant and I'm going to pass this on because it is actually just so strong. When I wore that, I wore like one spray between my wrists and I could smell it all around me all day. So I did take a little decant. I've also smelt the body spray of that. And then like I said in that video last year's Christmas box had the kitchen exclusive box had these little pen sprays of Yog Nog, and therefore anyone who didn't like it, which is going to be a lot of people, because it's a very specific taste, I think, this perfume, in a way that probably the shower gel isn't, because shower gels are quite easy to deal with, but wearing a perfume all day can be a bit more challenging. So I knew this would be easy to get. I got it on eBay. I think it cost me about a tenner, maybe 10-15 quid for this 10ml, which is perfect. And it's interesting because I would say that this version of Yog Nog in this particular pen spray, so this kind of most recent iteration of it, is much lighter and easier to wear. And it is a little bit closer to the body spray version of Yog Nog. So it's not quite as beastly, not quite as deep, not quite as spicy, but it is still... I think this smells like a panettone. If you know what panettone are, they are delicious, fruity, spiced, kind of boozy Italian Christmas breads. Almost like a big brioche, you know? Absolutely scrumptious. On Fragrantica, Yog Nog is listed as having clove and ylang ylang. I do think it's probably much more complicated than that, but I don't know how natural the ingredients are. So it's got ylang ylang oil, clove bud oil, benzyl bentonate, classic, eugenol. Yeah, I mean, it's got all of the classics, but I feel like this has a slightly custardy smell to it. It's got a slightly caramelized smell about it. It's very sweet, it's very spicy. It really smells like Christmas to me. I really enjoy Yog Nog. I'm very, very glad to have this pen spray, because I think this is much easier to wear than the bottle I had, because the bottle I had, I think maybe just Lush perfumes were stronger like a few years ago. I do feel like a lot of them have been watered down. V definitely has. I smelled that recently. And it's nowhere near as strong as it used to be. So I think they've been slightly calmed down, which is, you know, the trend, I think, generally in perfumes, in modern perfumes. But I think for Yog Nog, it's done it a real favour, because Yog Nog was a boost, and it was going to be so hard, because I don't really want to smell like a panettone outside of like the festive season, maybe sometimes in autumn, but I don't really want to smell like that all the time. So having a 10ml is perfect. And if you like the idea of smelling like a panettone, but you don't want to buy that actual panettone perfume, I can't remember the name of the company, but it's an Italian company, and I think they're like 150 quid. If you don't want to spend that, then if you can get hold of a little pen spray like this of Yog Nog, which you can get all over, you can get them on Vintage, you can get them on eBay, certainly in the UK, and I imagine probably in the US as well, and in Europe. Anywhere that has the kitchen subscription box, and anyone who got it last year, they might be selling this if they don't like it. I think this is delicious. I really like Yog Nog. I really hope they bring back the shower gel for Christmas. So yeah, so that's that. Next up on the list we have, I was waiting for this one for ages. This is my most recent acquisition, and I was really interested to smell it, even more so after getting what's it called? The Barbie one. So this is 29 High Street. I don't know if you can see, but it's got a slightly different, it's got like a blue colour rather than a black colour on this, and it's gold writing, because this is a special perfume that they only sell the proper bottles of it in the Pool store. So the Pool store, I think, is the first ever Lush store in the UK, in the town of Pool. Might be a city. I can't remember. I might have to cut this out so I don't look an absolute dickhead. But 29 High Street is supposed to be the smell of that original first ever Lush shop. The listing in terms... And I don't know that it really smells like this, and I don't really know that this would have been the way that Lush ever described this, especially not if it's supposed to smell like the shop. But the votes here say floral, fruity notes, sweet notes, honey, green notes, and caramel. I I'm not sure that's really what it smells like. Let me have a sniff. I think the Barbie perfume smells more like a Lush shop than this one does. But of course, I've never been to the pool shop, so maybe this is like before they had quite as much stuff as they do now, because I think if you've walked past a Lush shop, you know what that Barbie perfume dries down into, you know what it smells like. This one I think has elements, and I think that's probably the idea of lots of different things. I think the honey is very citrusy as well in this, so it's kind of got like a honey I washed the kids kind of smell to it, which I think is like citrus and the honey. I'm not mad. I don't really like that particular body spray or any of the products that smell like that. But this one also definitely, when it dries down, smells like Amelie May. So it has that kind of rose and raspberry vibe when it's in the deep dry down. The comparisons of this, like the top one is a honey perfume from Demeter, but more people disagree with that than agree with it. This one for me, let me just look at the ingredients on the back. It's got very small writing. Okay, let's see. Lemon, yeah, there's the ylang ylang oil, sandalwood oil, yeah, jasmine absolute, lime oil, lemon oil, tonka absolute, anise, and then you've got all the classic. You've got cinnamon, eugen oil, benzoyl, benzoate. You've got Fastnol, all of the classic Lush things. But yeah, so to me, if there's any kind of honey in this, then it's very much a honey that's a synthetic. Yeah, ylang, jasmine, lime, lemon, tonka, and then you've got that geraniol. So that's where the kind of rosy geranium smell's coming from. Yeah, I mean, I'm still not 100% sold on this perfume yet. I kind of like it, but there's also something in it that I don't love. But I do like a lot of those ingredients. So as I said, like this one just literally arrived a few days ago. I've been waiting for it until I couldn't make this video until it arrived, because I knew that I was gonna get this at some point, because I really wanted to compare it to some of the other things that I have. So I do think that it's really pretty. Do I think it's worth spending like 60 quid on a bottle of 29 High Street? Not really. I don't think it's actually that special compared to some of the other Lush offerings. So I mean, I'm lucky. I think I got this for like £15 or something. I got this one from Vinted rather than eBay. So yeah, if you see a little one come up and you want to try it, great. I mean, as I say, it's got a very kind of fruity, slightly floral dry down. It smells maybe smells a bit more like the perfume library smells in Lush rather than the upstairs bit where you've got the soapy stuff, because I don't think this smells massively soapy. I don't think it smells like bath bombs the way that Barbie does. So I'm still working on this one, but again, some people are trying to sell this for a lot of money, and I do not think it's anywhere near as special as some of the other Lush perfumes. So speaking of which, there's one coming up that I do think is very special. So I will talk to you about it now. So the last perfume pen spray that I've got is an absolute winner. So this is Yuzu and Coco. This is one that I think they had a body spray of this that I totally missed out on, and then they had what's it called? I'm not sure if they still do them actually. They might do in the actual online. It was part of one of the sets for a little while, and I think I'm Home was part of that as well with Yuzu and Coco. Again, this is one I got for maybe £10-15 on eBay, and I love Yuzu and Coco. I think it's delicious. It definitely smells like a chocolate orange. Now, in my Christmas video from last year, I still had Private Accord from the Scent for Her collection by Hugo Boss, and I had to get rid of that one because the vanilla in it was so strong, and I don't really like the vanilla in the Scent for Her perfumes, it's too vanilla-y, which is exactly what I feel about I'm Home. So the thing with I'm Home is I'm Home to me kind of smells like a combination of What Would Love Do and Yuzu and Coco, which is why I think that this is one that I can probably easily pass on, although I might take a tiny decant, is literally just because this I think is a much more wearable, slightly, because there's slightly less vanilla in this, I think, than in my I'm Home. Or at least I'm not sure if there's any vanilla. It does smell like there's a bit of vanilla. So the notes listed on Fragrantica for this one are cacao, yuzu, tonka bean, grapefruit and bergamot. On the actual bottle, let's have a look. Limonol, bergamot, grapefruit oil, tonka absolute, cocoa absolute, coumarin, geraniol. Yeah, so there's not actually any vanilla listed. But it definitely has a very slight vanilla vibe to it. But I think this is so pretty. It's very rich. It's very sweet. It has that slight bitterness from a natural cocoa powder that kind of starts to lean at slightly coffee-like in the top. So this, when you smell it from the bottle, it does almost have a kind of chocolate orange coffee kind of smell to it, but then it kind of chills out a bit on your skin, and it definitely gets a little bit warmer, a bit more cocoa like. I don't really lose that citrus while I'm wearing this one, unlike the Scent for Her, which as soon as it's like 20 minutes of chocolate orange and then it's just a sweet vanilla-y smell with a hint of chocolate. You kind of totally lose that citrus, whereas Yuzu and Coco, I feel it lasts much longer. So this is definitely autumn winter 100%. It's strong, it's very, very sweet, but it's sweet with that beautiful tonka, you know, so delicious. Lush's tonka, I love it. And it has that, it's almost slightly thick and spicy the way that like What Would Love Do and I'm Home is. So this is one that I would say, if you can get the body spray or the perfume of this on eBay, it is absolutely worth searching for. I'm kind of surprised that this isn't one that they bring back. This feels to me like it would be an absolutely perfect Christmas scent. That's certainly when I'm going to be wearing this. But anyway, I think it's lovely. So what else do we have? So we have 2 body sprays now. And then I'll just have a quick, I'll quickly mention something else that I've tried, but I don't have. Or at least I haven't even just tried it. I used to have a bottle of it, but I sold it. So I was given this one actually when I bought something else from Lush. They chucked in this decant from a body spray from Lush called Celebrate. So this is just a little thing called Lush Celebrate. I'm just going to put it that way so you can sort of see it says Celebrate. This is a body spray, and the notes listed for this one are lime, orange and cognac. Now I can't really find much more information about that. I can't find a photograph of the back of the bottle. I know that Celebrate is a scent that's in some of the other products from Lush. Gosh, it's so loud on my street. I hope that you can't hear that too much. It sounds like there's huge trucks moving around. But this one is interesting to me because I would say I haven't seen a review of this that matches how I think this smells. Sorry if this jumps, guys. I just totally nearly pulled my iPad off of the thing. So this one, lime, orange and cognac. I'm not sure that it smells particularly boozy, but it has the richness that you get from cognac, if that makes sense, when you first spray it. Even though it's very light because it's a body spray, so it's very watered down, but it just has that slight vibe. Someone described this as smelling like Skittles. I totally know what they mean because it does have like this sugary sweet smell at first. But very quickly, when this starts to dry down, it absolutely smells like either neroli or orange blossom. It definitely doesn't just smell. Actually, even from the bottle, it's definitely got one of those florals in, if not both. It really reminds me of a few things that I have owned or do own. So it's definitely got a little bit of a vibe of the Scentology perfume that I have, and I am definitely about to declutter that's like pomelo and orange blossom. I don't think that's actually what it's called, but pomelo neroli, I think it might be called. And that has that lovely citrus, and then it's got the lovely kind of soapy orange blossom. It's quite light. It also smells like the Aqua Allegoria I used to have that's called Pampaloon, and there's another one that's called Neroli something or another. And it has that same vibe as those. It also smells very similar to the Monothem perfume that I have. They all sold quite quickly, the Monothems. The first one that I got, that I've completely forgotten the name of, but it is literally a bitter orange and orange blossom scent, like green orange blossom. So this one, though, is my favourite of any of them, which is why the one that I kept was the Scentology pomelo one. I don't need to keep that massive bottle because I actually prefer this one. It's very similar, but there's something smoother and nicer. It just smells a bit more natural, but that's because this is a Lush spray. But it has that light, soapy, pretty kind of neroli kind of smell in it, but with a beautiful, rich and slightly syrupy citrus. The lime's really pretty in this. I really like it. It definitely does smell a bit like the Monothem ones, but just so much nicer. I would definitely recommend Celebrate if you want a fresh, clean, pretty body spray that just smells really natural, quite sweet, quite girly, but very fresh, you know. And then the last thing I actually have is probably my favourite. Because the last thing I'll say about Celebrate is that it smells like, it really reminds me of when did this come out? It could have been autumn last year. It could have been Halloween because it's got the word blood on it. But I mean, I don't know. It's called Blood Orange and it's a shower gel. Looked like that. And it was this beautiful kind of sweet, citrusy, orangey smell. But it definitely had that neroli orange blossom smell involved with it. So Celebrate really, really reminds me of Blood Orange. We got through a little bottle of that. I really enjoyed it. It's really pretty. It's exactly my level of orange blossom that I can cope with, and it has that slight bar soapy smell as a lot of orange blossoms do. So I just think, I think if you liked Blood Orange, then Celebrate's worth looking for. It's really good, and if it comes out as a limited edition, it's definitely worth looking at because I think it's a really pretty one. This last one that I actually own is is it my favourite? It might be my favourite from all of these. So this doesn't have much information about it. This is a Sparkly Pumpkin. This was a body spray that came out as a limited edition in 2020. So it would have been difficult to get, you know, we had hella pandemic times going on. Sparkly Pumpkin is, I mean, I'll read you the notes, but I don't think it in any way explains what it smells like. It says it's got, alcohol and perfume, juniper, berry, grapefruit and lime oil, geraniol, citronelle, limonelle, essential oils. Doesn't really explain what it smells like though. Does it smell like juniper? Maybe a little bit. Does it smell citrusy? Tiny bit. Sparkly Pumpkin is very, very hard to describe, but it is so pretty. If you see this, I highly recommend it. I think it's delicious. It's got a softness. It's got a fruitiness when you first spray it, but it's got a sweet and it's got like a fizzy effervescent vibe about it without being soapy. So I would describe that as like a sherbety smell, a sherbety vibe. It's super pretty. It does have a bit of a kind of pumpkin spice vibe about it, but very light and mixed with a lot of kind of fruits and citruses. It definitely to me has a bit of a warm, spicy smell about it. And it has a sweetness in it that becomes a bit more creamy the longer you wear it. But it's a very easy wear because it's quite light. The funny thing is, I actually wore this week because I knew I was going to make this video, and I was like, I'm just going to wear it because I fancied it. I do actually prefer this in colder weather because it has that warm, spicy vibe. It's very, very cozy. So it's not necessarily the sort of thing I should be wearing in summer. I just sort of fancied it. It's got like... In the very deep dry down, what I was thinking to myself was it kind of has a slightly white chocolatey smell when it dries down. So it's almost, it's got this very light sweetness to it. But when it's a true skin scent, when most of it's gone, what's remaining is this kind of slight white chocolatey smell. And I was like, oh yeah, it's got a slight lactonic vibe about it, this one. In a way that I'm like, it's almost like a very fruity pumpkin spice kind of frothed milk or something. I'm not sure if I'm selling this well at all. And then when I got up the next day, I kind of took my hair down, and all I could think about was Oxygen by Lanvin. And I was like, why can I smell Oxygen? And I was like, that's weird. And I was sort of moving around a bit, and then I realised that it was in my hair. So I smelt my hair, and I realised it was the remnants of Sparkly Pumpkin. Now, Lanvin is a perfume that I love, but one of the things about it that's like super interesting to me is that it has milk in it, and it smells like milk with quite a lot of sugar in it. And I think that's what I was getting from this in the very deep dry down. That's slightly what I describe as white chocolate smell, which is kind of like a creamy, a very sweet lactonic kind of smell, but maybe not actual cream, much more like milk. So it's a bit more watery, but it's still lactonic. But Sparkly Pumpkin is a little bit more, it has a bit more of that warm, spicy vibe, because I think Oxygen's quite a cold smell. So this doesn't actually smell like Oxygen. It's fruity in a way that one isn't. But there's something in the dry down that has that slightly musky, milky, sugary smell. Then it has this kind of very citrusy pumpkin spice on top of it. That's what I think Sparkly Pumpkin smells like. I just love it. If you can get it, I feel like my husband has had a, what's it called? A bath bomb of Sparkly Pumpkin before, and I don't think that it smelled quite like this. But I mean, it's been so long. If it comes, this is definitely one. If you see it, I would highly recommend snapping it up if it's not an insane price. And if it comes out again for this Halloween or this autumn, which it totally should, then absolutely, definitely recommend it. I think it's a beautiful, easy to wear, soft, pretty skin scent. I do think I think it's more feminine just because it's so kind of sweet, but at the same time, I think anyone could wear it. I think that's generally the same for a lot of Lush perfumes. I think maybe Snow Fairy and Barbie, maybe Amelie May, you're like pushing it a bit, but I think a lot of these are just really beautiful unisex kind of smells. So the last thing I'm going to mention, because I did have a bottle and then I sold it because I just couldn't get along with it, is one called Snow Cake. So Snow Cake, I think you get, Snow Cake is not a million miles away from Butterball. I feel like Snow Cake is also kind of skin scenty. It's got like a kind of slightly powdery smell about it. The notes listed for Snow Cake are marzipan, almond, benzoin, rose and cassia. And I think the marzipan in it is what I couldn't get along with, but it's also the reason I bought it. So I was excited about the idea of like a marzipan. But what I found with Snow Cake is that actually it smelled more like Play-Doh to me. And I couldn't quite get, like, Butterball, I can see that might be a similar vibe, but I can get more of the kind of sweet sugariness from this. I liked the idea of marzipan and rose, but for some reason in Snow Cake, I wasn't mad for it. And what I will say is that when I tested Furs, which is a perfume that they have in Lush kind of all the time, Furs kind of reminded me, even though it's Mimosa and Neroli listed, it definitely reminded me a little bit of Snow Cake. I think it's the Mimosa. I don't know. It's like there's just something in that one that is supposed to smell kind of coconutty, and I did get a slight vibe of coconut, but that one also smelled a bit Play-Doh-y to me. And I think that Furs and Snow Cake have some real similarities. So yeah, Snow Cake I had for a little while. I just couldn't make it work for me, so I got rid of that one. And I don't necessarily think it's one that's worth paying lots of money for. Like if you see it for cheap and you want to try it, some people really love it. But I think you can just go and try Furs maybe and see if that one will sate that desire, because you can actually buy that one in store at like a regular price, whereas sometimes people sell the limited edition and the discontinued Lush perfumes for like hundreds of pounds. So yeah, I mean that's the last one on the list, and I think I've pretty much smelled everything I could ever want from Lush. And so if I have anything in the future, it will just have to be singular reviews, because they probably will be like new stuff that comes out. I really can't wait for the Halloween collection. I'm really excited to see what they release. I hope they keep up with releasing new body sprays and perfumes rather than just like bath bombs and stuff, because, you know, this is my area of interest, obviously. And as much as I love their shower gels, they don't last very long for how expensive they are, whereas the perfumes last for a long, long time. So do the body sprays. So yeah, I hope this is helpful for anyone who might be looking at these on eBay. If there's any that I haven't mentioned in any of the, I think this is the fourth or fifth video that I've done on Lush, then let me know what you love, what you've got, or if there's anything you're after. If there's anything you want to talk about, just mention it down in the comments. I'll link to some of my other Lush videos in at the end of this one. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to wearing some of these, especially the ones that are a bit Christmassy, you know, like some of them are waiting now just until it's cold enough to kind of get away with it.